Me and my legion of cats are marching their way to destroy the foes of Ray class. There we go. Me and the cats. Despite everything that we saw in the manifesto the other day, there was one shining little light that we did see hidden in the pile of trash that was the routine overview and update of skills, and that was the update to Slinger and the update to Soul Rend. Immediately as I saw that, I recalled the Chaos Slingers of yore. If you're familiar with back in the day, we used to be able to do a Trickster, rip in peace. Hopefully in 3.19 he is good again, with a Chaos Slinger setup, traditionally doing something along the lines of just like Essence Drain and Contagion. And then you could do an alternative by doing something with Soul Rend. Unfortunately, anyone that is a fan of Slinger knows that it got nerfed a number of times, especially with the mana reservation efficiency, to the point where it basically fell off the radar pretty hard. Some people still try to keep it alive with the old traditional Volatile Dead, Detonate Dead Slinger, but it did require quite a bit of investment to actually get going and feel good, or even get close to what it used to feel like. So after seeing those changes, I decided I would start playing around with them, see if I could kind of simulate a little bit of what that might feel like. Here today is what I'm calling Buildspiration. This is not a build guide. This is not a build recommendation. This is just something that was really fun. You know, I want to highlight that I think Path of Exile really is just a sandbox that we can play around with. Sometimes a build can only do white maps. Sometimes a build can one-shot Ubers. We never know where it's going to lie, especially after patch notes, but it's always good to experiment and try different things. And so when you see patch notes, your brain will start passively making these connections. So you will already start thinking of build ideas. And that's really how a lot of builds get created, is you have a library of builds that you've tried in the past. You're familiar with some common archetypes that may be out of favor these days, and you see certain things get buffed, and you can kind of go back, revisit, kind of plug and play some of the new things that have changed. You know, maybe the new buffed uniques in 3.19, who knows? could be like the 40 buff gems and just be nothing, who knows? So yeah, this is Buildspiration. This is not a build guide. This is nothing like that. This is just a short highlight of something that I thought was really, really fun. So I just really quickly, in like 1 hour yesterday, spitballed this thing out of thin air. Very, very inefficient. Nothing about this is finalized. But what I wanted to do is kind of simulate what may have changed. So what happened is Soul Rend here got about 30% more damage across the board, both counting the on-hit damage and the damage over time, as well as 20% more effectiveness of added damage. So the big thing with Soul Rend right now is very high mana cost, very long cast time, and very short duration. If you want to scale the damage over time component, the base duration is only 0.6 seconds. So scaling that to something where you don't have to constantly be casting it, it's a lot more of a challenge than something like Essence Drain or Bane. But with the damage going up by 30%, now I'm a little bit more invested and interested in trying to scale that duration a little bit. And Slinger, if you're not familiar with how it works, is it takes the flat damage from the wand. So if you look at the wand here, it does 97 to 227 physical damage, and it's just going to take that, multiply it by the effectiveness of added damage here, which is now going to be 174%. Instead of just 100%, add that to the on-hit portion of the spell. Unfortunately, in this situation, that portion of the buff is doing nothing for what I'm going to be showing here. We are doing a damage over time Soul Rend, but this does make it a little bit more compelling if we're going for more flat damage on the wand that you're going for. Traditionally, if you're building a Slinger wand, you generally just want to go for gem levels because that effectiveness is not really worth it. And now at 174% effectiveness, it just gives you more variety for what you're going to roll for. If you're not familiar with Slinger at all, is it reserves the spell with all of its links and then triggers it when you use an attack. And it has to use a wand. You can see that I currently have my Slinger here linked with Essence Drain. This is the one that I have currently reserved. And then when I attack with Frenzy right here, you can see that it also shoots an Essence Drain. And then I can also now reserve the Slinger that I have in my body armor, and I'm also shooting Soul Rend with that. You can see that it has a reservation override. That number right there used to be even lower. Unfortunately, they did nerf that multiple times, so you can't reserve as many spells as you used to. So we still have that limitation. The other thing is we did lose the mana reservation efficiency mastery next patch, so I am not using it in the testing today. I am using reservation efficiency in my helmet, My helmet's giving me no other damage, though. It's just a really bad helmet that I happen to have. And then I am also using Ashes of the Stars right now. An alternative is we could go for a +1 gems with like Zealotry Reservation or anything like that. I also don't have Spell Slinger Reservation, and that would also be really, really good. We don't care about the cooldown recovery rate. So I just want to make that clear. The rest of my gear is actually pretty average. Non-elevated boots, okay cooldown recovery rate belt, yada yada. We're doing low life here. I have Curse on Hit. That's the general idea. The general shell here is I am reserving Spell Slinger with Soul Rend in my body armor, and then I'm also reserving Essence Drain in my helmet. And then I'm using Bane with Punishment and Tempt Chains. You can't separate me from Bane. And I'm using this to apply all 3 curses. So I have Despair on Hit on my ring here, and then I'm also adding Punishment and Temporal Chains. So I can triple curse with Bane, generally only doing that on single target. I am not worrying about defense right now. You can see that I have no defense. I'm very, very squishy. We're waiting for the patch notes. I don't know exactly how this is going to sort out. What I'm probably going to be leaning towards is Grace and Ghost Shrouds. But with all that said, I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised at how this felt right now pre-buff. And then what I'm doing actually is I am using very, very good support gems to try to make up for the 30% buff. And I'm also using an Obliteration, which gives me very close to 0 damage for this build. I'm trying to simulate something along the lines of like a few, not pure league start, but a few days into the league. This is not accurate, right? Like we don't know all the changes, but I'm trying to simulate league start-ish type of feel. You know, what is this going to feel like with 30% more damage, but we can use worse gems, right? And worse gear. But yeah, all we're doing is we're going around using our Frenzy on Hit here. Every time we attack, it will cast a spell, or cast all of our spells. And yeah, I am just honestly pleasantly surprised at how good the clear is. Really, really nice. You can see we're using Herald of Ash, which actually works with Profane Bloom, especially since we have Despair on Hit. You can kind of chain those explosions, and you get like an extra good Explodey. It gives you that Explodey of back in the day that just feels really good. Not to mention we're using Obliteration, which is basically just a free wand, right? Cost 1 Alchemy Orb. So yeah, this is the general idea. We can just run around. There's a lot of different fun things you can do within the archetype as well that, you know, I showed in the intro, where you can just put in any spell that you want. You can think about playing around with on hit and crit versions. You can see that even with this setup, tier 16 map boss with like Obliteration and a lot of gear that's like pretty average or giving me no damage, it's okay, right? And we're trying to simulate a little bit of what this might feel like next league. I just want to highlight that I don't think it's all doom and gloom. This is just the beauty of Path of Exile. It's a sandbox. There's a lot of stuff that we can do. I always want to encourage everyone to experiment, try different spells, try everything. Just go crazy. Equip Greater Volley with GMP and Dying Sun and a bunch of Cat MTX and run around yellow maps and have fun doing that. You don't have to have the big dick, Giga Chad, whatever, to have fun and have a good build. I firmly believe that and I stand by it. I had more fun yesterday just running around, trying every single spell that I could, than sitting there and farming 100 Uber bosses in a row. Sincerely, I find that way more fun, way more interesting. I want to encourage you all to do that. There's a lot of fun that can be had in Path of Exile, despite what some people may say. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this quick little preview maybe inspired you. Maybe you want to look at some of the other skills, get a little interested in that, see if there's something you want to play around with. And I'm going to go get ready for the stream right now and try a couple of those other things out. See if there's something further that inspires me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.